and welcome to Eclipse featuring exercise 6. In this exercise, I was asked to put all these classes into a package, make the classes public, change the lowercase t to uppercase in test class, and make data members private. We also added appropriate getters and setters and refactored the code that was directly in main to be a method callable from main. So I think I'll start off with that. This code here in test, which I've upgraded I've made it to uppercase. All this code was in here. As you can see, I created a new method called callable and called it from main. And this just has our array list here and some information. As you can see, we are using a comparator. So this is prior to the elements being sorted. Afterwards, we're calling the comparator again. This is going to be sorted after the elements, or the elements after sorting. We are going to print that list out. And then down here we have our two lambda expressions. And that was also one of the instructions here. We were asked to implement arrow functions, also known as lambda. So we added two more sort methods. We put the students in reverse order by ID, and we put the students in order by name. So you can see the elements reverse sort order by ID right here, and by name. And I was also instructed to give a short explanation on this. So a lambda expression is a condensed version of code that came out in Java version 8, and it essentially allows you to write everything on the same line, saving space. It reads just like the code prior to version 8. So here you can see we have mylist.sort. Then we have our arguments here. Oh, excuse me, mylist.sort. We have our two arguments. And then after the lambda expression, this is typically what would be returned, except here we are taking the getID method and comparing it to the E2 getID method. So, and that's what I can understand as our return, or the part that comes back, or the part that would typically be in the return. So it just saves a little bit on syntax, and it's simpler and a little bit more streamlined. That's the knowledge, my limited knowledge of lambda right there. We'll jump on over to student. As you can see, the other requirement was create two private data types, which we did. And over here we have our constructor and our getters and setters for set student name, and our ID getters and setters, and then our toString with student name and ID in that toString as well. Over here at student comparator, this is what's allowing us to compare the elements. We have our implementing our comparator student array list with our two arguments. We're comparing and using our getters and setters as well, and then obviously a toString. So if you could, as you can see here, when we run it, going back into test, our first print line mylist is going to be the elements before sorting, and you can see that they're in exactly the same order. Here we have our elements after sorting, and that's when we're starting our lambda expression comparator using that. And then the last two here that we were asked to do was the elements after reverse sort order by ID, which you can see that is has been sorted by ID in reverse. So starting at 5, 4, and then so on. And lastly, elements after sorting by name. So you can see David's the first one here, which is correct if we looked it up, and then Vishal, the last student, obviously is in that order. So that is correct. The code compiles and works correctly. I did have to do some digging on the lambda expressions. I'm not comfortable writing it yet. I'll have to practice with that a little bit, but it does make sense to me. I do understand the concept behind it, and you know, where the arguments go, and basic understanding of lambda at this point. So I believe that concludes everything. Thank you. Bye.